Hi, I'm Robin Downing and I work for Toya ISD. I have taken the new position of personalized learning coach this year. So this is the first year I haven't had my own classroom, so this has been a little bit of a challenge for me as far as a project goes. What I decided to do was a big part of my job this year is gathering the data on students and helping come up with a personalized plan for students that are struggling, at risk. There's a big concern for why they're not doing better in school than what they are. So what I did is I gathered the data from various sources like NWEA, iStation, Lexia, Report Card, Behavior, and I chose my student based on a student that I met earlier in this year that was having behavior issues. And what we did is we had a committee of teachers that came through and we looked at his data and what he was needing as a student to be successful because he's at risk. And I decided to focus on the NWEA results. His RIT score was low for the district. It was low as a norm. He's in the seventh percentile, I think. And so what I did is we had already addressed that he was an RTI student in Tier 3 and that he is lacking foundational reading skills and basic reading skills. So I felt like that was being covered through RTI. So I looked at the NWEA and thought, how can I help this student become more successful? So I looked at his relative strength, and that was in comprehension. I talked to his classroom teacher and asked if I could work with the student for a week, and he agreed that I could borrow the student for a week for this project. And he told me that in comprehension they were focusing on retelling a story. So I went back and looked at the student's NWEA results and found that he was lacking the skills to be on second grade for retell, that his skills went back to pre-K, and then he had a kindergarten skill that he needed to develop in retell, and then he had a first grade skill that he needed to be introduced to show the beginning, the middle, and the end, and logical order. So I decided that this would be the plan that I would do for the student. I would layer the lessons starting with pre-K skills and move down to the second grade skills that he is learning in class with his peers this week. I happen to know the student well enough to know that he likes the face-to-face. He does much better one-to-one than he does in small groups, and he does one-to-one a lot better than he does in a whole group setting. So I made a 5-day plan for this student for retell, going from pre-K all the way to second grade. Figure 19E, which is retell and act out, or it's retell with beginning, middle, and end. It's retell with a beginning, middle, and end with a logical order. It just layers as each year. And I'm going to start with the pre-K skill. Do you think I should talk about my design?
Yeah, go ahead and tell us your plan.
Okay. The plan that I'm going to do this week is I'm going to start off with the pre-K and kindergarten skill. I'm going to reintroduce a pre-K skill, introduce the kindergarten skill using Google Seesaw. I have linked stories that are read aloud by the author, and the student's going to listen to the story, and then I made an oral instruction for the student to listen to the story aloud and to be thinking how to retell the story. And I also put an instruction on there how to re-listen to the story as many times as the student needs to, and I have a instruction where they can go hit the audio button and they can record their answers, or there's a place where they can go and do a written response. It's really short. The books that are being read by the author are about 2 or 3 minutes a piece, and then we move to a mini lesson, teacher to student. Then we move through a teacher guided practice where I'm actually modeling a retell rope and modeling the 5-finger retell so that the student is engaged and they have that he has a reason to be on task. And then the student goes to independent practice. One thing the student must do is use the retell strategy. And then the student has 3 different choices that he can choose from in order to practice and apply the content and skill. And then at the end of each lesson, he's going to have a formative assessment where he either has an exit ticket or he has an oral retell or a written form closer to the end of the week. So I have 3 stories on Seesaw, and then on the 4th day, we're going to go to the library, and I have a list of books that are strong in retell and sequencing. He's going to pick his own book, so it'll be a student-selected book. We're going to read it together, and he is actually going to model to me on that 4th day how to retell, which strategy he wants to use. And then instead of acting it out, he's going to go back and try to do a written form of the retell, which I know is super challenging for him. And then hopefully the 5th day, he'll be able to do the assessment that the 2nd grade teacher is giving all the other students. The only accommodation I asked the teacher was that I could give it as an oral administration. So if he needs a word read, a phrase read, a sentence read, or the whole entire question read, that I would be able to do that, since we know that he does have comprehension skills, but he is lacking basic reading skills, the foundations.